Welcome to Mighty Microbe channel. Today we are back with the topic that is glycolysis pathway, or another name for it is EMP pathway. So basically, what is glycolysis? Glycolysis, it is a process in which glucose it is break down to produce the energy. As you know that glycolysis, it is a metabolic process which converts glucose into pyruvic acid. In this pathway, it produces two molecules of pyruvate, ATP, NADH and water. And this EMP pathway, it takes place in cytoplasm of the cell and it does not require the oxygen. And this glycolysis, it occurs in both organisms, aerobic and anaerobic organisms. So this glycolysis, it is a most common pathway for glycogen catabolism. In previous lecture, I have explained what is catabolism, and also this glycolysis, it is also called as Embeden-Meyerhof-Parson pathway. And this EMP pathway, it is found in all the organisms of the microorganisms. As I have told earlier that this glycolysis, it takes place in the cytosol, that is cytoplasm, but it does not take place in the mitochondria, and it does not require the presence of oxygen. This EMP pathway, it occurs in two phases. First is energy investment phase and second is energy generation phase, which is also a payoff phase. The first 5 steps in glycolysis are energy investment phase, which is also known as preparatory phase, which produce glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and the second half of the glycolysis, which is energy generation phase, it is also known as payoff phase. This EMP pathway, it is a 10 enzyme catalyzed reaction. This glycolysis, it is followed by Krebs cycle during aerobic respiration, and in the absence of oxygen, these cells make small amount of ATP as a glycolysis, and it is followed by fermentation. This was basic about the glycolysis pathway. So now we'll begin with the actual explanation about the glycolysis cycle. It takes place in the cytoplasm of cell, which is a semi-fluid matrix that fills the cell and surrounds the organelles. This glycolytic pathway, it is a 10-step sequence, which is a universal process which is present in almost all the organisms, all the living cells. Actually, it highlights the evolutionary importance. As this glycolysis, it is the first step in the process of cellular respiration. It plays an important role in production of ATP. As I've said that this glycolysis, it includes two phases. First is energy investment phase, or it is also known as preparatory phase, and second one is payoff phase. So we'll begin with the process. Stage 1, that is energy investment phase. Here investment is done of energy. So first is phosphorylation is done. Phosphorylation means adding of phosphate group to molecule or ion. So this glucose it is converted into glucose 6-phosphate with the help of enzyme hexokinase. Here 1 ATP molecule, it is consumed and it is converted into ADP. Second is isomerization. So in this glucose 6-phosphate, it is isomerized to form, that is, it is converted into fructose 6-phosphate with the help of glucose 6-phosphate isomerase. third is here fructose 6-phosphate. It is converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, and the enzyme catalyzing this conversion is phosphofructokinase, and here another ATP molecule it is consumed, and this it is a regulatory step in the glycolysis. After that there is a cleavage phase. After that, which phase is there? Cleavage phase. Here fructose 1,6-diphosphate, it is cleaved into two molecules, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, with the help of aldolase enzyme. So there is also interconversion of dihydroxyacetone phosphate into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Then after that, the third phase, which is energy payoff phase, here oxidation and phosphorylation of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate takes place, where glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate it is converted into 1,3-diphosphoglycerate with the help of enzyme glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, and NAD plus it is reduced to NADH. Then here ATP generation takes place. In next step, ATP generation takes place, where 1,3-diphosphoglycerate it is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate with the help of enzyme phosphoglycerate, and here ATP generation takes place. Fine. After that, next is there is a conversion of 3-phosphoglycerate into 2-phosphoglycerate with the help of enzyme phosphoglycerate mutase. After that, there is a dehydration to phosphoenol pyruvate, where 2-phosphoglycerate it is converted into phosphoenol pyruvate with the help of enzyme enolase. And finally, with the help of pyruvate kinase, which is the enzyme catalyst, it transfers the phosphate group from phosphoenol pyruvate to ADP, forming ATP and pyruvate. So this was the explanation about glycolytic pathway, how it takes place, and here the structures are given, how the phosphate group it is transferred or it is shipped from one place to another. So this was the explanation about glycolytic pathway. Also here each and every step it is explained how is the glucose converted into glucose 6-phosphate, or which enzyme is used, or here the ATP is consumed. These reactions are given here. Then the second is glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate, and enzyme catalyzing this reaction is glucose 6-phosphate isomerase. Then the next one is, as I have already explained, that fructose 6-phosphate it is converted into fructose 1,6-diphosphate. Here the ATP it is a phosphate donor for this reaction, and the enzyme catalyzing this reaction is phosphofructokinase. Then the next is fructose 1,6-diphosphate. It is converted into two molecules, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate with the help of aldolase enzyme. Then the next is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. It is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate with the help of triose phosphate isomerase. This reaction it is a reversible reaction, and only glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate it goes further for the metabolism. So after that, the second stage it is a payoff phase, where energy is generated. Here glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate it is converted into 1,3-diphosphoglycerate, and enzyme catalyzing this reaction it is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. After that, 1,3-diphosphoglycerate, it is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate with the help of enzyme phosphoglycerate kinase. Again, this is a reversible reaction. Here, oxidation coupled to synthesize ATP from ADP is done. Then the next is 3-phosphoglycerate, it is converted into 2-phosphoglycerate with the help of enzyme phosphoglycerate mutase and with the help of this enzyme. After that, this 2-phosphoglycerate, it is converted into phosphoenol pyruvate and water. This reaction, it is an elimination reaction and it releases the water molecule. Here enzyme catalyzing this reaction, it is enolase, and final step, it is phosphoenol pyruvate, it is converted into pyruvate with the help of enzyme pyruvate kinase. Here the formation of second ATP is done, and this is a overall glycolysis process reaction where glucose, it is converted to 2 pyruvate, 2 ADP into 2 ATP, 2 NAD plus into 2 NADH, 2 Pi into 2 H plus. The trick is good girlfriend fill by 3 pg peg 2 peg play ping pong. And the enzyme catalyzing this reaction, there is also a trick to remember this. Say as hungry hexokinase, hungry glucose 6-phosphate isomerase, GOLU, hungry GOLU pol phosphofructokinase and aldolase, gloomy glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, Pablo phosphoglycerate kinase, Pinto phosphoglycerate mutase, eat enolase, pizza pyruvate kinase. Hungry, GOLU, pol and the triose phosphate isomerase, the gloomy, Pablo, Pinto, eat pizza. And of this trick, it is good girlfriend fill glass daily, buy 3 peg 2 peg play ping pong. So this was all about the glycolytic pathway. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel.